Just practicing won't make you a better artist. More tutorials? Not what you need either. Searching for art hacks and tips? Not really that helpful. There's some really surprising things that make great artists. Welcome to Art Mentor. My name is Sean, and I wanted to share with you some things I've learned that really set artists apart. So make sure you watch this entire video all the way through, because if you're feeling stuck, stagnant, or art blocked, doing one or more of these things may be the key to unlocking your creative potential. When you're making art, no matter what you're doing, no matter what project you're working on, if it's for a commercial purpose, if it's for a personal purpose, if it's for you trying to get a commercial purpose, I really want to ask you this: why are you doing it? Because here's one thing that really sets great artists apart is when you have an attitude of service. Because this is something that if you bring this energy into your artwork, it is going to be extremely life-changing and people are going to catch on to it because it is infectious. And I want to approach this from a couple different angles. So, my friend, if you are somebody who's just doing your own personal project, let's say that you're growing your own IP, let's say that you're just practicing, let's say that heck, you are just trying to be a better artist, okay? As an artist, my friend, you are part of only 1% of the entire global population. And for you, growing your humanity and cultivating those very human essences that make you unique, that make you cool, that make you outstanding and make you stand out, that is an outrageously fine reason to make art and to get better at it. Now, if you're part of a team, let's say that you're working for a game development company, let's say that you're part of an illustration firm, let's say that you're freelancing and you're trying to create book covers for other people, okay? Be a good person of service to that team. If you're working on a game production, then you can think about this. How is that going to impact people? How is that experience of that game going to impact people's lives? Think more outside of how amazing you can be as an artist and how impactful you can be. Because if you can have this attitude of service, friend, you are going to be set apart so much. Here are just simple questions that can be answered in an attitude of service. Who can be helped and how can your art impact others? Isn't that an amazing thing to think about? One aspect that I think more artists need to get into involves a dirty word. And I'm gonna say this word, and I'm just kind of curious, what's your reaction to this word? And that word is sales. And most of the time people think of the word sales, they think of, oh my God, it's really high pressure and it's really uncomfortable and I don't really like that. And they'll conjure up images of what? Like some sleazy, scummy used car salesman trying to push some product onto them that they don't even want. It's gonna break down in 2 weeks, right? Does that sound familiar to you? But here's the thing, y'all. You have to take that word out of the context of being some type of pejorative, and we need to focus this into a more empowering experience. And here's how I'm gonna ask you to refocus it, is that real sales is all about you understanding your value and you valuing that, and then also you benefiting from that value. So this can be taken in a few different contexts. So just for example, like if you follow my commission advice, if you follow my business advice, you'll understand this about me. I'm not high pressure sales. That's not what I'm about at all. I'm actually very low pressure. If somebody wants to back off, I'm gonna let them do it. But one of the things I'm gonna try and do as a salesman is I want people to understand how being in business with me is going to help them. And if you can help people understand that, then you're gonna really set yourself apart and you're gonna be able to do more and you're gonna open up loads more opportunities than people that are super high pressure, high stakes sales. That is not a good sustainable way. And to be honest, you don't really feel that good about yourself either. The other thing I wanna let you know about sales is that a lot of artists don't like this topic, and that has led to the creation of many predatory websites that honestly just want to make a buck off of you barely making any money. Sites like Artistry, sites like Artisan Clients, and so many others, because there are so many artists that want to be in the game of sales, but they only want to play it from sitting on the bleachers watching everybody else play. And if you want to get ahead, and if you do want to go ahead and sell your stuff or have somebody else sell your stuff for you, then you need to be in the game of sales. You need to be a participatory member, friend. Another thing for you to start to try out right now is, hey, how are you getting new ideas? How are you expanding your horizons? How are you investigating new and complex ideas? Are you reading? There's a big thing a lot of people don't think about, but yeah, engaging in not just the visual arts, but the literary arts too. You think about when you're reading, what are you doing? You're envisioning new places, you're envisioning characters, you're envisioning what do things look like that have never been seen before. So for example, have you ever read a book and then watched the movie and it was a little bit different, or it was represented differently and maybe cooler or not cooler? Like for example, I'm just gonna say, if you ever read The Maze Runner, MTV did that movie series really dirty. It was weird, but some people have this reaction with like Lord of of the Rings and Harry Potter, you know what I'm talking about? Definitely read books in your desired genre. If you love fantasy, go read fantasy books. If you like dark fantasy, go read that. You like horror, go read that. If you like sci-fi and cyberpunk, man, go read that. Just think about you engaging into that process is going to help you envision new things and think about new things. And it's going to add to your vocabulary. And then that vocabulary adds to your creative and visual vocabulary too. See, everything is connected here. But a lot of artists only think that just by doing art, it's somehow going to make their ideas better. But no, friend, you have to engage in other ideas and engage in plots and engage in stories. And for those of you that are involved in creating plots and stories, why aren't you doing this more? You gotta be a participatory member in it. And this is how you're gonna be able to create that amazing, outstanding product that people are gonna love. Now, while you're reading those books, have you ever tried to illustrate those scenes? You ever tried to make those things, make that concept, make those people? Because that can be a great way for you to grow and expand your visual library. Are you already doing this? Tell me about it down below. Now, another thing you might not be paying attention to is, and just let me ask you this, do you typically have low or no energy? Do you have issues just summoning just the strength and the energy just to pick up your pencil or pen or stylus? Y'all really need to focus on your health and wellness. So here are 3 things I really want you to pay attention to. First off, how are you eating? Do you eat like total crap? Do you eat nothing but junk food? Are you just eating empty calories too? Because that's a major issue for you. So what can you do with that, friend? Can you maybe eat 50% better? Can you just watch what you're doing? Can you add in some fruits or vegetables every once in a while? It's gonna make a world of difference. On that note too, like, can you drink water? Are you somebody that only drinks like soda, or you have to have flavor this or that? Because to be honest, like 90% of the people walking around right now, they're dehydrated. And that is another reason why you're not gonna have any type of energy. The second issue to bring to your attention is, how are you exercising? Or are you not at all? Are you pretty much just sitting down and stagnant? Do you come home from work and you just veg out on the couch for 4 or 5 hours like most people in the US do? And the thing I want you to think about this is that motion creates more motion, and inactivity can only breed more inactivity. If you've ever tried to just think your way through a project, or if you've ever tried to just summon up the strength and courage from it, it doesn't work out that well. And then lastly too, how's your sleep? Some of y'all, I'm just gonna say, you are sleeping too much. Like, if you are an adult and you're sleeping 10 hours, you're wasting a lot of your time and you're wasting a lot of potential there for it. Sometimes y'all need to be willing to sacrifice to get what you want, because if you're not willing to sacrifice for the things that you do want, then you are going to sacrifice the life that you could have. Examine your sleep, examine your physicality, and examine your diet, because that is going to enable you to actually produce art at a really high level. And you're not going to bring those concerns into your art. A lot of people don't think about this, but literally the energy that you have, you bring into your art. If you feel bad, if you question it, if you're not feeling good about the way you look and feel, it's going to creep into your artwork. But again, most people don't think about that. Do you? Next, let me share with you what I deem to be the most tragic misunderstanding of artists, which is that only doing more art and seeking out more tutorials and doing more tutelage and such is going to produce you into the best artist that you can. This is a huge fallacy, and you're missing out on honestly 50% of what is going to make you into the artist that you have always hoped and dreamed to be, because you cannot separate the art from the artist. And if you're ignoring you and what you have in you and the things that are holding you back, then you're also being held back in your art, and your art is a visual representation of that. Look, let me just be real with you. We all have human components that are great, and we all have other ones that we want to work on. And engaging in personal development is gonna allow you and your art to really blast off, because here's a quote that I heard recently, and it really beautifully sums this up. But the magic that you're seeking is on the other side of what you don't want to do. And the things that you're avoiding creep into your artwork. They're like a dark shadow just clasping you. And if you can work yourself through that, it's gonna be game changing for you, friend. So if you're not sure even how to do this, let me just give you some of my personal recommendations. I would go ahead and just YouTube up some Jim Rohn, some Tony Robbins, some David Goggins, some Layla Hormozi, some Alex Hormozi, and also Steve Harvey. Like, these are people who are going to help you turn your life and turn your outlook and your perspective into something that's going to be highly productive, but also you're going to grow yourself as a human being. And again, what we learned before, that if you grow yourself as a human, you grow yourself as an artist too. And hey, would you like to know any of those ones, or do you want me to write them out for you? Because if so, just go ahead and drop a comment right down here. I'll be more than happy to direct you to some awesome people that will help you out, and you can again find all their content content right here on YouTube. Now, let me ask you this question. What is the genesis of all great ideas? And where do great ideas come from? And how do you set up the environment for that? How do you set up those opportunities, right? Okay, here's a surprising fact for you, but this comes from boredom. This is hard for us because we're so mediated. We're so focused on what we have to do, and we have FOMO, and we hear about something exciting and a new game comes out, and our brains are like little crack addicts, and they gotta get their fix, and they gotta get their little stimulus here and there. But listen, y'all, if you really want to generate better ideas and you want to have new awakenings and new understandings, y'all have to get into a position where you can create more boredom in your life. Because what happens when you're bored is your mind wanders. Set up some moments for you to create more boredom. And again, this is gonna feel uncomfortable because you're not used to it, all right? Can you, for example, have some silent car rides home from work every once in a while, okay? Just like 20, 30 minutes of just nothing. No music and no podcasts or anything like that. No YouTube videos playing, but can you just have total silence for you to think? Can you meditate maybe for 20, 30 minutes a day? Can you sit down with just your hot cup of coffee in the morning, whatever you're drinking or eating, and you just have silence? Allow your brain time to rest. And that is a big issue with a lot of people nowadays. We don't allow our brains to rest. We gotta be go, 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 on to the next thing, and to the next fix, the next fix, the next fix. And that is actually harmful for you as an artist and as a human being. So I'm curious to hear from you. How do you want to create more boredom in your life for you to actually have these moments? So now let me ask you this. How do you think about yourself and how do you approach things generally, and what's your outlook on it? Because a big issue that I recognize is that most people are entirely too pessimistic, and then most people have extreme doubts about everything that they're doing at every single moment. And I want you to understand this, that doubt and stress and anxiety are cancers to everything that you're going to be producing as an artist. And yeah, that is pretty natural that those are going to come up. But how long does that sit with you? How long does that fester in you? So most people will surrender to what's happening to them and how they're thinking, and without any real regard or awareness for it. So instead, friend, I want you to know this, is that no matter what happens, you're always in charge of your reaction. And if you question that, and you're like, no, Sean, this is just the way I am, and this is just the way I think. So I ask you this, y'all. Is there somebody else in the world who would react differently to that thing that happened to you and maybe use it as a positive experience? I'm going to tell you this. There are some people in this world that have done amazing things, that have had the worst atrocities, like 10x times whatever you've gone through, and they've made the best of it. How can you do that? And most people, just to combat this, are going to be like, well, Sean, I can't just see all sunshine, flowers, rainbows, and puppies, right? Being positive is not about being unrealistic. It's seeing those things. It's seeing those demons. It's seeing those shadows. But it's about you responding differently and you being in control. So you learning to do that is going to be really powerful for your art. And the other way I can shape this for you, as far as how it's going to be great for your artwork, is because you are also going to learn how to have blind faith in yourself. You're going to have faith in what you're doing. You're going to have the ability, big one, to deny instant gratification, because you know at your core that what you're doing is the right thing. Are you able to do this? This one is going to really trigger some people, but I'm going to explain to you, and bear with me on this, as to why this is going to be really great for you. So when we talk about things like structures and discipline, what's your reaction? Are you like, ooh, whoa, do your hairs kind of stand on end a little bit? Do you start to feel a little prickly? Do you start to feel like, ooh, and you just retract it and you feel defensive? Okay, here's the thing that I want to help you come to understanding with, is that you being able to define goals for your life and for your art, and especially for your projects, and defining goals in them too, is going to be not an oppressive force for you, but it's actually the process of you empowering yourself. And it's also a very loving process too. It's a process of self-love, because here's a major critical understanding I want you to come to. If you cannot develop a structure and discipline for your life, you are submitting to someone else's structure for your life. And I don't really know if that's what you want to do, friend, is it? Be okay with developing goals. Be okay with having a purpose. Be okay with measuring those and holding those accountable. And again, that's another word people don't like. And actually, I was just having a conversation with one of my mentees about this the other day. They asked me, Sean, do I have a problem with accountability? And I said, no, Because nobody has a problem with accountability. Whether you do or you don't want to, we all deal with accountability. Accountability is a part of life. And no matter what happens, friend, no matter what decisions that you make in life, you are going to be held accountable for it. So don't think of accountability as you doing something right or wrong, but it's just a matter of how are you exploiting this life and the time that you have and the ability to do the things that you want to do. If you start to learn how, again, that is a loving and empowering process rather than an impressive force, you really learn how to change your life, long-term and short-term. So this brings in the question then, what's the worst advice you've ever heard? What are things that you should not do? What are things that you've heard, but you need to avoid like the plague? Well, y'all, I got an entire video for you right here about the worst art advice you've heard that has destroyed generations of artists. Watch out for it and go check it out.